All right, here we go. Hi. Okay, just a few more things to organize here. Okay, and yeah, okay. So we come back down to Earth in today's class. We've been up on all the high-minded chart forms and systems and cosmic things. Now we're coming still cosmic things, but it's down to more personally applied things and going deeper into the natal horoscope, or into the houses. So this is called the diurnal houses and the phases of the houses. So I'm just going to, part of this will be like a review, but it will evolve to add a few other considerations we haven't brought into the houses yet. And it's important, and again, this sits on the edge of what's common knowledge, what's popular, and what's actually how things actually work. So, okay. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Start when we're looking at a chart. We had the signs of the zodiac, which are the seasons of the year, and measuring the ecliptic and the Earth's path around the sun, or the sun's path around the Earth, as we see it from the Earth. But when we're dealing with the houses, we're dealing with the rotation of the Earth from the equator up to the poles, and we're looking at how we determine it is we see at the moment we're born, there's a certain point that's overhead, and that line that's overhead, the exact point overhead is called the zenith. But from the North Pole through the zenith, going down to the South Pole, going south, there's a line, and that line, the midheaven line, will cross the zodiac, will cut the zodiac at a certain degree, and the degree that it cuts the zodiac, that's the degree of the midheaven. And the IC is the 180 degrees away. So one is the highest point in the sky of the zodiac, and the other is the lowest point of the zodiac. It's not the zenith, although in other systems, when you get to equatorial systems, other systems, the zenith in astronomy, they use the point overhead, and point underneath, they look at the local plane. It's valuable, it's valid, but we're looking at the point where the highest point of the sky, of where the zodiac cuts. We're looking at the point of where the signs and the celestial and the seasons and the higher energies come in and align to our worldly concerns, to our earthly concerns. So it's not so much the houses, it's not the question of the houses influence the sign, it's where the signs are aligned to the houses, are aligned to the earth, where the zodiac is in relationship to the earth. So we have the highest point above us and the lowest point underneath us. So the highest point in the sky. So yeah, so this just mentions it's the MC at true noon, which is local mean time. We're on time standards, and we're on daylight saving time. This is some of the calculations you have to do to hand calculate a chart. Now it's all pretty well done by computer. So local mean time isn't so mean anymore because we usually don't have to calculate it. The point, yeah. So the midheaven is, that's it, the point of the zodiac, which any point would be at the highest meridian, after which it begins to hit. So it's that point, anything to the left of the midheaven in the northern hemisphere, anything to the left, that will be rising up to the midheaven. Everything starts down at midnight, down at the lone point. So the sun will be at the IC at midnight. It'll be at the midheaven at noon. So it climbs at true noon. It climbs from the deepest point, it rises up to the highest point in the sky at the midheaven, and then begins to set and come down to the IC again. So the IC is the lowest point under our feet, the lowest point where the zodiac crosses, where the zodiac cuts that north-south north line. Okay. So this gives us the basic side, half of the sky is rising. So the houses are based on, really it's the clock comes from the watch, or the clock comes from the houses. It's like midnight to noon, 12 hours rising, 12 hours setting. And for the sun rising and setting, but as the sun's rising, the whole heavens are rising. All the signs of the zodiac, half of the zodiac is rising, half of it's setting. Whatever planets are on that rising half in the zodiac, those will be rising too, and the other planets will be setting too. And this is the beginning of seeing some of these practical influences of how the planets help us to instigate things or help us to react to things. The rising side, we're instigating, we're making happen. Those planets, as they become our functions or parts of our being or our complexes, anything rising, we're making happen. We're pushing it out. We're putting it out. We can't say, why is this happening to me? We're putting it out. Everything setting is what's coming back to us as we're reacting and responding. So the people with all their planets rising, they're just putting everything out. They may think they're in tune with everything, but they're instigating things. They're not reacting. But some with everything reacting, everything setting, would hardly want to instigate, but would really be aligned to people, or be aligned with better people. This is better than that. They're more selective. So instigative, reactive, projective, selective. These are the qualities of the rising and the setting. So this is, now again, we're introducing some of the I Ching in with this. So the same thing without words is written here. The solid line in the I Ching represents the light half, the broken line, the light, the male. This is the traditional factor, the individual. And the broken line is the female, because she can have 2 kids. She can have kids, guys can't. That was the original idea, but it becomes the light and the dark. The broken line is the reflective time, the setting time. So this being light and dark, it's light increasing if you're looking at the sun, and decreasing as the sun sets. But the other planets' lights, but yeah, they're increasing and decreasing, but not so phenomenally, not so noticeably. But this is the rising half and the setting half. But we know it as yang and yin. It was originally called the firm and the yielding. Being firm, putting out, reacting, yielding, taking in. So half of the sky, we're projecting, we're putting out, we're activating, we're making active, we're using to be more active, to come from where we're coming from and pushing out to the world to see what we can do with it. Then we're reacting to how the world accepted or didn't accept what we did, and we're responding, we're regrouping for the next day. This cycle happens every day. It's happening every moment, but really it's distinctive every day. So each phase is like hours of the day, like a clock. So again, just the same thing, the MC, rising, the setting, instigative, reactive. And we've gone over all of this before in level 1 and in level 3 when we're doing the planets and the houses. We went through these categories. So you know that these categories work. You know that they're there, this instigative, reacting house of the zodiac. It's the basic factor, just like the daylight increasing and nighttime increasing is the basic primary factor of the zodiac. Here, the rising and the setting is the primary factor of the houses. So the zodiac is for the year in the orbit. The houses are for the days and the time hours of the days. So the rising and setting within a day, within that, so within a smaller cycle. We stop time and we really have 2 cycles. Really, your zodiac is 2 different charts. One is the relationship to the zodiac. One is the relationship to the houses. If we kept them as 2 different charts, it would be more clear. But because they interact with each other, we watch the heavenly effects on our worldly circumstances. We watch the higher energy coming down to affect the attitudes affecting our circumstances. And we could be receptive to those circumstances, or we could be negative and blocking the higher energies or better attitudes. It's a choice, and we live accordingly. How much light do we put in? How much light do we instigate with? How much do we react to? What you put out comes back. So this line between the IC and the MC, that line, it's basically called the line of power. But really this MC is, it's in almost all the systems, the MC is the same. As you do the MC, all the house systems, there'll still be the same MC, and then they'll vary. There are some systems that use equal houses off the ascendant, but that's more theoretical or mathematical. It's not based on observation. The midheaven is that point right overhead going due north from the North Pole over to zenith, kind of going straight down south, cutting the zodiac. It's a specific thing. So this is called, it's a line of power. The power of where we're coming from and how we rise out into the world and what we can do, and the power of how we react to what's happening out in the world. But there's two kinds of power. One leads to instigating, how well we instigate; the other, how well we react. Okay, so here, we have the let me just see it a little bit better. I almost have too many drawings here, but this is an older setup. I've been teaching this a long time. Okay, here we see the midheaven is the power of objective functioning, status, motivation, and communal integration. It's how far we go, what we do, how our effect, our mark in the world, and how we function with it, our status. It can be positive or negative. It can be a status or a lack of status. It's still going to be there. Whereas the IC is the subjective power within. Personal motivation, personal integrity, subjective motivation. It's an inner factor. It's why we get up in the morning, why bother. It's an inner thing, what motivates us inwardly. And we come out of our last night's sleep, out of our mom, out of our home, out of our and we go out into the world. And we project out into the world. Each day we do this. With different attitudes, we go and we see what we can do, and then we react to it. We had a great day. Oh, it was a terrible day. We put it out, it comes back in. Oh, it's a simple thing. If you get yourself together, you go out the door. By the time if you get angry at something before you go out the door, or just as you're going out the door, it has an effect on the whole day. It's created a darkness that you're putting out that you're going to have to react to later, or it'll have an effect on what comes back to you later. So these are really primal points. Understand the MC is generally interpreted as your career or your status in the world. It's the career. It's what most of Western astrology, modern astrology, most astrology accentuates: the ascendant, your personality, and the MC, your status. But one of the most ignored points is the IC, and it's the most primary point of where you're coming from. It's the most spiritual point. It's like the umbilical cord of your body to your soul, the umbilical cord of your body to your soul. It's how we're connected to home, to mother, to the past. It's where we're coming from. We're coming from our mom, we're coming from our home, we're coming from our last night's sleep, and everything that means, or doesn't mean.